Good morning, guys. Today we're going to be looking at the OCGN earnings call. It's about to start in about a couple minutes. I'll give my thoughts. I just read through it pretty much here very quickly. Let me just pull one thing up and then I'll get right into it for you guys here any second now. The stock is already up 8% though in the morning, which is something you love to see. You love to see the stock going up on news like this, and I think it was a pretty good report. So I mean, anything's possible here. We're really gonna see today how this unfolds, and I think it was one of the better earnings reports this month so far. Let me just do something real quick here. All right, so I want to go into the main points I'm seeing on here for this quarter. I think it was a big milestone for the company. I think the company's main thing we're seeing is the modified gene therapy platform is advancing at a very quick rate, which is very exciting, and I think people were expecting it to take much longer than it has taken. And we're starting the pivotal trials right now, and 50% are enrolled. This is absolutely massive, especially if as we're nearing enrollment completion with a targeted submission in 2026. We're very close to real profitability and starting to earn revenue on these products. Not only this, they struck a licensing deal with Kwangdong Pharmaceutical, I'm pretty sure, which was the sales milestone structure projects 180 million in the first 10 years. Not only this, but they closed a 20 million registered direct offering plus warrants that could bring in an additional 30 million if fully exercised. This improves their funding runway, although with some caveats, of course, I think. But this is a key thing to watch, especially as we've seen the cash and cash equivalents for the quarter ended is about 32.9 million, which is down from the 58 we saw in the prior year. But Q3 operating expenses, where was it? Operating, let me find it for you. Total operating expenses here. As we could see, the total operating expenses, compared to a year ago for the 3 months ended just now, it's 19 million versus 14 million in the same period. But even with their offering, the stated cash runway goes into Q2 2026. But I think we're still going to need additional financing and warrants to be exercised. That means there's obviously going to be the funding risk, but I think overall this was a very good quarter. And I want to point out one thing here I was looking at, and it was, where was it? I'm trying to find it for you guys here real quick before the call starts on us. The most, like, I think the most bullish thing is the Ocugen the gene therapy, and it's pretty much at the finish line, and we've seen we've been waiting for this to happen for many months, many years, and their flagship treatment for what is it, redness, is nearing full enrollment in the phase 3 pivotal trial. And this is a massive deal because phase 3 is typically the final step before we start seeing the regulatory filings. So they confirmed that there's the BLA MAA submission target for 2026, which is very bullish in my opinion, and it means they're officially on commercialization clock now. So a few small biotechs have reached this stage, and that's why their stocks always crash. Whereas I see OCGN really starting to take off from this point and start to expand very quickly. Not only this, but the new South Korea licensing deal with that pharmaceutical company I was telling you guys about, I think is very bullish in my opinion. I think it is bullish because it creates an upfront payment, and then it also creates the milestone payments. With this, we also see the 25% royalty rate, which is absolutely huge, and the expected 180 million revenue potential in the first 10 years, which is just from the Korean market. This validates the product internationally, before we even see FDA approval. Not only this, but they're also having the second major gene therapy test, which hit 50% enrollment, as we saw here inside the earnings report. And this disease has no approved treatment, which means OCGN could be the first to market. And being first unlocks enormous pricing power and strong adoption across many different markets. Another thing is I want to point out is that unlike many biotech companies with just one pipeline asset, Ocugen has like I think 4 or 5 I can name, and this creates a huge platform, which is why I think if you're investing in gene therapy, this is the main stock to be in on, and it creates a long-term opportunity and an additional large market where other companies are not at. They also raised 20 million with the potential for 30 million more if warrants exercised, which boosts their runway into Q2 2026. We've seen we've also seen it's that I think 2026 is really setting up to be their breakout year as a stock, as a company, as all that. They're if the timeline is correct, we're gonna see the OCU 400 pivotal data coming out, the regulatory submissions, major progress coming out, and international expansion partnerships. One or more major pharma licensing opportunities, then the company could shift from this speculative biotech company into a late stage commercialization story, which is often when biotech stocks start to go parabolic, and we see this stock go into the $10 range, the $20 range. And it's 8:30. I think the call is about to start. I have it up here. Let me turn it up. Hey, at least they chose some decent music on this. So as I was saying, I think this next 12 months is going to be very crucial. And I think the company will get completely revalued.
Good morning and welcome to Ocugen's third quarter 2025 financial results and business update. Please note that this call is being recorded at this time. All participant lines are in a listen-only mode. Following the speaker's commentary, there will be a question-and-answer session. I will now turn the call over to Tiffany Hamilton, Ocugen's Head of Corporate Communications. You may begin.
Thank you, Operator, and good morning, everyone. Joining me on today's call and webcast is Dr. Shankar Musunuri, Ocugen's Chairman, CEO, and Co-founder, who will provide a business update and an overview of our clinical and operational progress. Ramesh Ramachandran, our Chief Accounting Officer, is also on the call to provide a financial update for the quarter ended September 30th, 2025. Dr. Huma Qamar, Chief Medical Officer, will be available to answer questions following the presentation. This morning, we issued a press release detailing associated business and operational highlights for the third quarter of 2025. We encourage listeners to review the press release, which is available on our website at ocugen.com. This call is being recorded, and a replay with the accompanying slide presentation will be available on the Investors section of the Ocugen website for approximately 45 days. This presentation contains forward-looking statements within the meaning of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995, which are subject to risks and uncertainties. We may in some cases use terms such as predicts, believes, potential, proposed, continue, estimates, anticipates, expects, plans, intends, may, could, might, will, should, or other words that convey uncertainty of future events or outcomes to identify these forward-looking statements. Such statements include, but are not limited to, statements regarding our clinical development activities and related anticipated timelines. Such statements are subject to numerous important factors, risks, and uncertainties that may cause actual events or results to differ materially from our current expectations. These and other risks and uncertainties are more fully described in our periodic filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, including the risk factors described in the section entitled Risk Factors in the quarterly and annual reports that we file with the SEC. Any forward-looking statements that we make in this presentation speak only as of the date of this presentation. Except as required by law, we assume no obligation to update forward-looking statements contained in this presentation, whether as a result of new information, future events, or otherwise, after the date of this presentation. Finally, Ocugen's quarterly report on Form 10-Q covering the third quarter of 2025 will be filed today. I will now turn the call over to Dr. Musunuri.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm pleased to share an update on our modifier gene therapy platform and would like to recognize that in just over 3 years, we brought our lead candidate, OCU400, from initial phase 1/2 dosing to nearing phase 3 enrollment completion. The OCU410ST phase 2/3 pivotal confirmatory trial is following close behind, and we're on track to complete enrollment in the first quarter of 2026, lining up for our planned biological licensing application BLA submission in the first half of 2027 for OCU410ST. This rapid progress is somewhat unheard of in industry and not only reinforces our commitment to file 3 BLAs in the next 3 years, but it also brings us closer to addressing the incredible unmet medical needs that exist for patients facing vision loss. While all 3 programs are moving along on schedule, we received additional positive news in the third quarter that the Committee for Medicinal Products for Human Use, CHMP, of the European Medicines Agency confirmed the acceptability of a single U.S.-based trial for submission of MAA in Europe for OCU410ST. This alignment allows us to maintain the same timeline and budget efficiencies in Europe as we have with the OCU400 pivotal trials. To fund clinical trial progress, we continue to pursue opportunities to increase our working capital, and in August closed a registered direct offering with Janus Henderson. The gross proceeds were approximately $20 million, which we anticipate will extend our runway through the second quarter of 2026, and we will receive $30 million of additional gross proceeds if the warrants are exercised in full, extending our runway into 27. The OCU400 phase 3 Limelight clinical trial remains on track for BLA and MAA submissions in 2026. It is the only broad retinitis pigmentosa RP gene-agnostic trial to address multiple genetic mutations with a single therapeutic approach. And it's important to note that this is the largest known phase 3 orphan gene therapy trial. There are approximately 300,000 people in the U.S. and Europe combined living with RP, which affects more than 100 genes. Ocugen's gene-agnostic approach has the potential to treat multiple gene mutations associated with RP with a single one-time subretinal injection. Currently, the only approved gene therapy for RP targets a single gene, RPE65, which accounts for 1 to 2% of RP patient population. This product achieved peak sales of $52 million in 2023 with a patient population of approximately 2,000. We believe OCU400 has far greater commercial potential as it is intended to provide a therapeutic option for the remaining 98 to 99% of RP patients. We anticipate commercialization in 2027. Process validation and manufacturing activities are progressing well in support of the BLA. Brand planning and marketing initiatives led by Abhi Gupta, our EVP of Commercial and Business Development, are scaling up as well. We will begin rolling submission of the OCU400 BLA in the first half of 2026 and release phase 3 top-line data in the fourth quarter of 2026 in line with our commitments. As we prepare for what will ultimately be a global rollout for OCU400, we're pursuing regional partnerships that preserve Ocugen's rights to larger geographies to maximize total patient reach, while also generating return for our shareholders. In September, we announced an exclusive licensing agreement with Kwangdong Pharmaceutical Company Limited for the rights to OCU400 in South Korea. Under the agreement, the company will receive up to $7.5 million in upfront and development milestone payments, plus sales milestones of $1.5 million for every $15 million of sales in South Korea, projected to reach $180 million or more in the first 10 years of commercialization. We will also earn a 25% royalty on net sales generated by Guangdong and will be responsible for manufacturing and supplying OCU400. There are an estimated 7,000 individuals in the Republic of Korea with RP, which represents approximately 7% of the U.S. market. OCU400 provides the opportunity for our partner to help thousands of patients facing vision loss. Upon regulatory approval of OCU400 in Korea, we believe Guangdong will become a leader in the field of ophthalmic gene therapy in South Korea. Now, let's move on to OCU410ST. OCU410ST has the potential to target over 1,200 pathogen mutations in the ABCA4 gene associated with Stargardt disease and other ABCA4-related retinopathies with a single one-time subretinal injection. As I mentioned earlier, enrollment in the phase 2/3 Guardian 3 clinical trial is ahead of schedule. The strong response underscores the significant unmet medical need among Stargardt patients who currently have no approved treatment options available. Stargardt disease affects approximately 100,000 people in the U.S. and Europe combined, and approximately 1 million people globally. With CHMP acceptance of U.S. trial data for the MAA submission, will maximize resources and streamline development efforts with the goal of bringing OCU410ST to patients in Europe sooner than originally anticipated. The 12-month data from all evaluable phase 1 subjects showed highly encouraging results, with a 48.2% reduction in lesion growth and a meaningful one-line, 6-letter gain in visual acuity in evaluable treated eyes compared with untreated eyes. All treated eyes also demonstrated stabilization or improvement in visual function, highlighting a consistent and tangible therapeutic benefit. Interim data from ongoing phase 2/3 study is expected mid-2026, further advancing our goal of bringing OCU410ST to patients in need. Finally, OCU410 is specifically designed to address multiple pathways implicated in the pathogenesis of dry age-related macular degeneration and offers a promising advantage over current treatment options that target only one pathway, the complement system, which does not fully address the disease progression and underlying causes of vision loss. Currently approved treatment options require frequent intravitreal injections, about 6 to 12 doses per year, and are accompanied by various safety risks. For example, roughly 12% of patients develop wet AMD following treatment. With approximately 2 to 3 million geographic atrophy patients in the U.S. and Europe combined, OCU410 represents a significant market opportunity. Current therapies have notable limitations, and there are no treatments approved for GA in Europe, as existing FDA-approved options fail to demonstrate meaningful functional outcomes. OCU410 is therefore well-positioned to address this critical unmet medical need. At 12 months, available subjects in the phase 1 study showed a 23% reduction in lesion growth, along with a 2-line or 10-letter stabilization or gain in visual acuity in treated eyes. Preliminary results from 6-month interim analysis demonstrated a 27% reduction in lesion growth and preservation of retinal tissue in the treated eyes when compared to untreated control eyes. This reduction is over twice that observed with currently approved intravitreal therapies at 6 months monthly and every other month pegcetacoplan injections, which showed only 13% and 12% reductions respectively, highlighting OCU410's potential to provide a significant and meaningful therapeutic benefit to patients with a one-time treatment. In addition to the greater lesion reduction, a single subretinal injection of OCU410 demonstrates greater efficacy in preserving retinal tissue surrounding GA lesions compared with monthly and every other month pegcetacoplan treatments. We plan to provide full 12-month data from the phase 2 study, including both structural and functional outcomes in the first quarter of 2026, and anticipate initiating the phase 3 study next year. I will now turn the call over to Ramesh Ramachandran to provide an update on our financial results for the quarter ended September 30th, 2025.
Thank you, Shankar. The company's cash equivalents, and restricted cash totaled $32.9 million as of September 30th, 2025, compared to $58.8 million as of December 31st, 2024. With the recent $20 million financing in the third quarter, we believe our current cash position provides sufficient runway to operate through the second quarter of 2026. Total operating expenses for the 3 months ended September 30th, 2025 were $19.4 million and included research and development expenses of $11.2 million and general and administrative expenses of $8.2 million. This compares to total operating expenses for the 3 months ended September 30th, 2024 of $14.4 million that included research and development expenses of $8.1 million and general and administrative expenses of $6.3 million. That concludes my update for the quarter. Tiffany, back to you.
Thank you, Ramesh. We will now open the call for questions. Operator?
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.
Not a bad earnings.
Your first question comes from the line of Michael Okunewitch with Maxim Group. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, thank you so much for taking my questions today. Congratulations on all the progress.
Thank you, Michael.
So I guess to just start out, I'd like to ask a little bit about OCU400 and in particular, the timing of the BLA completion. You mentioned that you're going to be starting that in the first half of 26, a rolling BLA. But then how quickly do you believe that you can turn around the pivotal data over to the FDA and complete that filing?
As soon as it gets in. I think, we're nearing completion as we stated, and so we will have resources ready to turn around in weeks.
All right. It's great to hear. And then in terms of your manufacturing, are there any other items that you need to do to get ready for commercial manufacturing before you can start submitting that and start the rolling BLA process?
Yeah, good question. Our PPQ, our process validation runs are doing very well. They're on target. In fact, all the material we're making in support of the registration, they can be commercialized. So we will have lots made ready to go.
All right. Thank you. And then just one more for me, and I'll hop back into the queue. For 410ST, with the upcoming interim readout, what endpoints are you expecting to release? Or is that going to be an internal DSMB review?
For endpoint for the phase 2, yes, it's already in the clinical protocol. We're looking at lesion growth compared to untreated control group. We do have untreated control group. And the secondary, we're looking at visual acuity.
But I'm specifically referring to the interim release that you're expecting mid-year 26. Will that be publicly released, or is that going to be internal?
That's a good point. Yeah, there'll be limited information publicly. The DMC looks at it, and then we'll be informing the agency. And however, we will give you some indications about the clinical trial.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate the update. And looks like there's a lot to look forward to at Ocugen.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Boris Peaker with Titan Partners. Please go ahead.
Good morning. A couple of questions for me. Maybe let's start with the 400. Can you just remind us exactly what the statistical kind of design of the Limelight study is, what the assumptions were? And I'm just curious if you've had kind of recent discussion with the FDA to make sure that it's still acceptable. And I think this question comes in a context of what we've seen just recently with Unicure, where it sounds like the FDA may have moved the goalpost a little bit in their gene therapy. So I think we just want to get a sense to make sure that similar dynamic doesn't happen here.
Yeah, good question. I'll start, then Huma will chime in. So first and foremost, I want to distinguish all our clinical trials, including our phase 2 GA trials. We have a control arm within the study. Typically, FDA, that has been a tradition. Most of the clinical trials, FDA really looks for control within the study, not using some external controls or very rarely natural history. So I think I really want to differentiate that from what you mentioned about Unicure. So we do have our OCU400, OCU410ST total trials, including even OCU410GA clinical trial. We have untreated control subjects in the clinical trial. So that's what we're using to compare. And Huma, go ahead on the clinical trial design.
Yeah, thank you, Shankar. So the clinical trial design is we have 150 subjects that we're planning to enroll for the study, 100 in the treatment and 50 in the control, 75 in the rhodopsin and 75 in the gene agnostic arm, with 50 being active and 25 in the control. We have 97% power for this study. We have assumed 50% and 10% treatment effect in the treated and the untreated eyes. And there is a 2-to-1 randomization, which means we are treating both the eyes as they meet the inclusion-exclusion criteria, with the worst eye being dosed first. This is the only trial that is globally available with clinical and/or genetic diagnosis of RP with syndromic and covering non-syndromic forms.
Got it. Great. That's very helpful. And maybe a question on OCU200. You mentioned the milestone that we'll see completion of enrollment by the end of the year in phase 1. Can you comment when we'll see the data and what would that initial data include?
Yeah, Huma, go ahead.
Yes. So we are on track for our OCU200 enrollment for our phase 1. Our periodic safety updates are there. There are no serious adverse events related to the product listed as of right now. Yes, in the beginning of next year, we will be providing some more updates on the safety and efficacy of OCU200 as soon as it becomes available. But as this is a phase 1 first in human, there are no serious adverse events related to the investigational product reported as of right now.
And how many patients will you have in that initial update?
So we have a dose-ranging, dose escalation portion of the study, so that would be almost 9 to 12 subjects.
Great. Thank you very much for taking my questions.
Your next question comes from the line of Swayampakula Ramakanth with H.C. Wainwright. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Shankar and team. So a couple of quick questions. The first one on OCU400. As you're nearing to the point where you're putting not only your application together, but also thinking about commercialization, what sort of investments are you making within the commercial infrastructure so that you're allocating appropriately within your budget for pre-commercial activities? Let me start with that.
Yeah, good morning, Yarkin. Thank you. Yeah, I think, based on 2027 launch next year, we will be ramping up slowly for U.S. commercialization. Obviously, our goal is to continue to look for partnerships, just like we announced one in South Korea and other regional partnerships in Europe, Japan, and elsewhere. But U.S., we are looking still into because it's a good market. We have good handle. We created a lot of these centers for excellence, which will be part of the commercialization for subretinal delivery. Therefore, we will have more information provided next year, but we'll slowly ramp up. We'll be allocating a carefully limited budget starting with, but we're looking into other avenues to beef that up next year.
Okay. And then on the ST, with the comment that it's reaching 50% enrollment on the Guardian 3 trial, what's the cadence of enrollment there? Are you having just trying to understand how the enrollment is going? Is there any geographic? Are there any geographies where you're seeing less of a enrollment? And if how many patients you need to you're screening so that you get the enrollment moving?
Yeah, I'll let Huma take that. Huma, go ahead.
Thank you, Shankar. So hi, RK. So this trial includes 51 subjects, 34 in the treatment, 17 in the control. We are almost 50% and above in our enrollment. We have completed that, and we are on track. So there are no geographical restrictions here. Actually, I would say this is basically the disease of the pediatric population, and we are covering early to late stages of Stargardt, also 3 years of age and above. That's why we are pretty confident we are going to meet the enrollment goal. In fact, we do have almost half of what we have enrolled, more than that, in the screening queue. So we are on track for completion of our enrollment. But there is no geographic restrictions. There are almost 15 centers that we have equally covered across in U.S., and all of them have the screening metrics for those patients as well. So we are on track.
Shankar, if I may, can I ask one quick one on OCU400 itself? Are there having looked at the data from the earlier studies and the patient characteristics, have you folks identified any of the patients? Obviously, there are some who are high responders and some who are non-responders. In general, how are you thinking about what the real potential is for OCU400, and what could your commercial strategy be so that you try to get the highest adoption that you could get?
Yeah. So, RK, I mean, our design clearly outlines, based on the strong scientific basis, we're targeting entire RP from early stage to advanced, pediatric to adult, and that's the coverage. And I mean, we are including in our phase 3 clinical trial all major components of RP. I mean, that means some of the mutations with high prevalence, like rhodopsin or XLRP, Rushers, and PDE6B, all those mutations are included with good representation. So our goal is to look at the data holistic and get the broad RP indication so that we provide a treatment potentially for all RP patients, not restricted to specific genotype.
Thank you.
So the market will be wide open. Yeah, go ahead. RK, please go ahead.
No, thanks. That's what I said. Thanks for taking my question.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yep.
Your next question comes from the line of Robert LeBoyer with Noble Capital. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Just as a follow-up from some of the previous questions, my understanding of OCU400 is that it's a regulatory gene that affects the entire gene network downstream, restoring homeostasis. So early stage, late stage, child, adult, specific mutations really wouldn't matter because it's affecting the whole downstream pathway that leads to blindness. So please let me know if that is the correct way to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Robert. You stated it.
Okay. And secondly, the OCU 410 in GA is also ongoing. And could you just go over some of the endpoints and what to expect in that trial?
Yes, Huma?
Yes. Yes. So, hi, Robert. So we have completed our Armada enrollment phase 1/2. The phase 1 was a typical dose ranging, dose escalation, 3+3 design, 9 subjects there. And also we had phase 2 where we had a high dose, medium dose, and a control, which means that we enrolled 17 subjects in high dose, 17 in the medium dose, and 17 in the control. Also, in terms of the endpoints in phase 2/3, which is important, it's a geographic atrophy lesion growth reduction from baseline, and also looking at low luminance visual acuity over the period of time as well, which is functional. We have been consistently releasing the data on that, and we are on track for following up those patients till early part of next year.
So that's a 1-year time point, Robert, to clarify. Our GA trial is
Yes,
1-year trial.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that detail.
You're welcome.
Your next question comes from the line of Elemer Piros with Lucid Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Yes, good morning. So, Shankar, you talked about OCU410 ST and your agreement. OCU410 ST, your agreement with the European agency that the U.S. trial would be sufficient. Do you have a similar agreement related to the RP program as well?
Yes. Yeah, we have similar agreement with EU, EMA
Okay.
on the RP program too. Yeah.
Okay. And what would be the regulatory path in South Korea for 400?
Yeah. Currently, it looks like South Korea and the rest of the world, typically for orphan gene therapies, they're following FDA closely. And once you get FDA approval, based on the FDA approval, you get approvals in those countries. So
Got it.
most of these countries don't need any additional clinical trials.
Yeah, I understand. And one housekeeping question. How much of the $7.5 million or up to $7.5 million that you received from Guangdong is included in the cash balance that you reported?
The $7.5 million is not included in the cash burn at this point of time. It is going to be in future, so that's not part of our cash burn at this point of time.
And could we project some into the fourth quarter in terms of the initial payment?
The $1 million which we received from Guangdong, that is already in the cash projection, but nothing more than that.
Okay, $1 million. Okay. And lastly, could you talk about your manufacturing capacity, Shankar, especially when we think about much larger indications such as OCU410 for geographic atrophy?
Yeah. The manufacturing capacity, we have ex-US partner with plenty of capacity. And the goal is we have our own facility in our backyard in Malvern, Pennsylvania, and that facility will be ready. Our plan is to get that ready by 2027. And when we get the first approval, it's called prior approval supplement with the US FDA. We have to add the site. And our goal in future is to produce all US supply from our US manufacturing site.
But you mentioned also that you have an ex-US partner as well, manufacturing partner?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, currently, yeah. And we have plenty of capacity, global capacity.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Final question comes from the line of Daniil Gataulin with Chardan. Please go ahead.
Yes. Hi, good morning, guys. Thank you for taking my questions. I have a couple here. First on OCU400, the trial, as we know, you have two arms, one with RHO mutations, one with RP gene agnostic mutations. For the gene agnostic arm, are you disclosing how many different mutations are included there? And in terms of the enrollment, did one arm see a more robust enrollment than the other?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So actually, it's an assessor-blinded study. So at this point, we cannot disclose. Gene agnostic means that all the major mutations will be covered, which is more than 95% geographically look at it in U.S. and globally. So we are going to cover that in the gene agnostic, and all forms of rhodopsin are going to be in the rhodopsin arm. So that is the first one. And yes, there is a robust enrollment randomization that we are proceeding with. As we stated, clinical and or genetic diagnosis, syndromic as well as non-syndromic forms.
Okay, got it. In terms of prep for BLA filing for OCU400, what are the outstanding CMC or what is the outstanding CMC work that needs to be completed before you file?
With the RMAT designation, Daniel, we have opportunity to initiate rolling submission, as we stated, in the first half of next year. And so you can submit non-clinical and CMC sections. So as far as CMC is concerned, we have to complete our process validation runs for drug substance and drug product, and it's progressing really well, and we're on target. So those sections will be submitted before we submit the clinical section. That will be the last one, late next year. So somewhere in the middle of next year, we'll be submitting the manufacturing section. We'll start with non-clinical, followed by CMC, followed by clinical.
Okay, got it. Understand. And one last question for LCA. Is that on hold for now, or is that completely off or out of your pipeline, or what are your plans for LCA?
Yeah, that's from market perspective, then it's very small. What we'll do is that's right now it's not in our plan, and obviously once the RP gets into the market, we can always look into that for phase 4.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you very much for taking my questions.
This concludes the Q&A portion. I will now turn the call back over to Chairman, CEO, and Co-founder, Dr. Shankar Musunuri. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Operator. The third quarter was marked with important clinical progress, strategic business development, and essential financing accomplishments. We're poised to close 2025 on a strong note and look forward to early 2026 catalysts that will further advance Ocugen's position as a biotechnology leader in gene therapy for blindness diseases. Have a great day. Thank you.
All right, guys, there we have it. I'd say that
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's call. Thank you all for joining. You may now disconnect.
All right, let's disconnect, I guess. All right, that was a really good call in my opinion. I have some notes I want to go over, and then I'll let you guys go. If anyone's even in here, I can't see on my screen. But the third quarter business update, I think, is marking an important turning point in the company's history, and we've seen years of development, restructuring, and strategic positioning, and Ocugen is finally emerging as a legitimate contender in gene therapy, which is one with multiple late-stage assets and international validation that I think has been created over this quarter. And I think the next 12 to 18 months we'll see the valuation really start to expand and grow as we see more regional partnerships, more major clinical milestones, and the regulatory submissions. The centerpiece of all the momentum, though, I will say, is, where is it? The Ocugen 400. Oh, you guys can't even see it. It's right here. The part about it. I think that's the main centerpiece. And this lead modifier gene therapy targeting the redness. In the Q3 update, the company is confirming that the phase 3 pivotal trial is approaching full enrollment, placing it firmly on track for a 2026 BLA submission. This is a milestone that most biotech firms never reach, and it signals that the OCU400 has graduated from a hopeful pipeline project to a near commercial asset. The science behind this type of technology is also very compelling. Rather than targeting it's a single mutation, the therapy is designed to address multiple different genes, genetic formations, and everything. If ultimately approved, I think this could allow Ocugen to treat a far broader patient population than all the other competing therapies that are out on the market right now. Not only this, but we've seen, that's one of the main reasons I've been getting a position in here. We see Ocugen, their progress is not inside just a single asset. The company is simultaneously advancing the 410 ST, Ocu 410 ST, which is a mod gene therapy for another disease that creates issues for people, and they have reached 50% enrollment, which is a pace that suggests substantial interest and strong program execution. Being the first to market is a large, and especially in a rare disease segment, it creates commercial potential very quickly. We see this disease as it's a lifelong condition with significant unmet need, and establishing an early presence could give Ocugen a durable competitive lead across all the rest of the competition. One of the more bullish signals also we saw from the quarter is the international traction we saw, which was highlighted by the licensing agreement with Kwangdong Pharmaceutical of South Korea. This deal includes upfront cash, milestone payments, and a remarkable 25% royalty rate, which is projecting more than 180 million in potential revenue over the first 10 years from just one country. So imagine, of course, I'm not the best in geography, but that is just one country. We got 180 million in 10 years. So now imagine the rest of the world, the North Americas, the Canada, the Europe, Global licensing deals at this stage serves as a third-party validation of both the science and the commercial potential. If Ocugen extends similar agreements to these different markets, as I was mentioning, especially even Japan, the Middle East, this revenue could multiply several times over. Beyond these, the two late-stage programs, the Ocugen also maintains a broader pipeline that gives it a platform company rather than just a single asset. The programs like the Ocugen 410 and the Ocugen 200 offer large market flexibility to scale into multiple different conditions. In a biotech landscape where the depth of a company matters a lot, Ocugen stands out as a company with both legitimate catalysts on the near side and the long-term expansion capability. On the financial side, some of the main things that pointed out to me, let me get the finance. Oh, you can't even see it on the screen though. I'll just keep it right here. On the financial side, the company addressed one of its biggest overhangs by completing a 20 million direct offering and an additional 30 million through possible warrant exercises. This extends their runway into Q2 2026, which is far enough to reach the next wave of clinical results and regulatory submissions. While dilution is never ideal, this financing comes at a strategically vital moment rather than the company scrambling for cash in the middle of pivotal times where they need to be expanding, they need to be doing more research. The company now has the resources to execute its clinical programs without any disruption from outside forces. Taking all this together, I think that the Q3 update signals a company that is entering into a more important phase of data. Ocugen is aligning late stage data, the partnerships, and the financial stability with all into a full year, a next year filled with market moving catalysts. And if Ocu 400 produces the successful phase 3 outcomes and regulatory submissions proceed as planned, Ocugen could transition from a speculative company here as we're sitting here. What are we at in the $1.50 in pre-market, which is still decent, but it's not where I think it will go. But I think the upside from this transition is very significant, and it is precisely why many investors are beginning to re-look at the stock. And I think it's why the stock is up this in pre-market, and I think it will continue to rise in the next coming years. So in short, this Q3 update marks the beginning of a potential breakout period. With two major clinical programs advancing rapidly, international partners on board, and a realistic path to its first FDA submission, Ocugen has positioned itself as one of the most promising small cap gene therapy companies in the market today. For investors who are specializing in biotech at inflection points, I think this next year could be the best year you're going to get on this stock. And I think it's one of the main reasons I just started a position. I think this stock has a lot of upside potential, and I did really like this quarter. I've liked the recent news the last few months. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, let me pull up the chat here. I'll answer them. If not, I'll just probably end the stream here. I got an exam in a couple hours, and I got to get to school. But it was nice hanging out. If anyone was in here, I can't even see. Someone said buy. You gotta buy. You know that. I mean, no, you don't have to buy. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do like. Me personally, I like the stock. You know, I like the stock. Me personally. So if no one has any questions, I'll probably end it here. That was a good call though. If anyone was in here, I think it says there was 9 people, which is pretty good. Thank you guys for hanging out, watching the call with me, and other than that, have a great rest of your day, guys. Because I don't see anyone in the comments. Oh, Bill, it's nice to see you, Bill. I appreciate you, and no worries, of course. Hopefully, I'll be doing more updates on this stock because I really do like it. I just recently found it in the last 2 months, so I'm probably late to the boat compared to some other people. But I do see the vision. I don't want to give price targets because I usually get burned on it, but I do like the upside potential here, especially next year. I think we got a great company on our hands. So best of luck to everybody. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Be kind to one another. Make sure you guys go outside.